So here we are once again. It's time for the Cadet Pre-A final. The grid is Margeris Kavekis and Ben Hunt rounding out row 1. Row 2 sees Jacob Underhill and Carter Inskip Clarkson. Row 3, Aidan Hammond and Luca Batuev. Moving on to row 4, it's James Vaught and Teddy Young. Row 5, Robbie Hamilton and Max Lovell. Row 6 sees Jack Beasley and Jensen Barnard. Row 7, then we move on to James Malcolm and Wyatt McAllister. Row 8, Tate Hart and Oliver Yango. And then move on to row 9, it's Ellis Cox and Edward Jones. And then round again. That is the grid there. So then actually it looks like we're just a little bit ahead of the carts once again. So we wait until the cadets are able to jump out on the track. But that was a great end to the junior race there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I thought they battled really fairly, but they didn't give each other more than an inch. They gave each other an inch, just no more than that.
And I'm actually really impressed by Lewis West. Very, very smart, very, very calculated. He knew that he had the pace advantage over Lewis West. He didn't want to start any battling too early and knew, look, whenever I want, I can make this move. And he waited until there were just a few minutes left so that Rory Hinckley wasn't close enough to potentially gain a position over him. So really, really impressive driving as our cadets make their way out onto the circuit. And we will be getting our pre-A final underway shortly. Margeris Kavekis, what a lap in qualifying. The best qualifying lap we've seen all weekend. Question is, can he find that pace consistently?
Well, he's certainly looking good for him. Watch out as well for Carter Inskip Clarkson, Jacob Underhill as well. Plenty, James Vaught as well. Plenty of quick drivers in this field for the pre-A final in the cadet class. I'm just watching now as the formation lap is underway. The cadet cars have had a little bit of a break, so we're going to get the cars back up to temperature behind the pace car as much as possible. Pace car runs, of course, just a little bit slower for the cadets, just to make sure that they are definitely safe and ready to go racing. They are doing it the right way, though. The people with all those camper vans at the back, that is the way to go for a weekend's racing.
Absolutely so. So, Margeris Kavekis and Ben Hunt on the front row of the grid. Ben Hunt in the blue suit, white helmet. Kavekis, blue suit and the multicolored helmet. And we are racing for our first pre-A final of the day. It's a good start for Kavekis, who leads the field through oblivion. And is that a good run for Carter Clarkson? It's the number 20 of Jacob Underhill, who's now trying to go up the inside into Christmas corner as Ben Hunt tries to attack on Kavekis. It's a clean start for most. Aidan Hammond, I believe, is up into P6, so a decent start for young Aidan as the field head downs into Ashby Corner without any casualties, but it is still Kavekis who leads from Hunt and Underhill.
Yeah, good clean getaway.
Oh, someone has gone completely wide.
Someone's had a bit of a big off here. I'm not quite sure who that was. It is number 15 of Margeris Kavekis still leading this race. Certainly under pressure as they head through the boot. It's effectively a 6-kart battle for this lead at this point in time because they are very close together indeed.
Make sure you keep your eyes for Jack Beasley. He's all the way down in P12. He won both of the heats for the first round of this championship. But right now it is Kavekis who is trying to stretch out his lead. A very good run from the 53 of Ben Hunt as we head up the hill towards Christmas Corner. Ben Hunt's going to go up the inside of Kavekis and he's going to make the move stick. Ben Hunt takes the lead of the pre-A final.
Track limit warming coming in for Jack Beasley there. Doesn't want to collect too many of them.
As Aidan Hammond having a look up the inside of Ashby. He's going to tuck in behind the 20 of Jacob Underhill up into P4 now, but Margeris Kavekis is not going to let this move slide without a fight, sticking onto the back of Ben Hunt and making his presence known.
Yeah, Ben Hunt, an impeccable job there. Now leading this race as we head back through the boot. We'll start next lap in the lead.
Great move by Aidan Hammond. Sends it up the inside of Jacob Underhill, who was trying to look for his switchback. And on the pair of them, James Vaught gains 2 positions for nothing. So James Vaught, the complete opportunist. Aidan Hammond now on the outside of the crook as we head into oblivion. Aidan Hammond will have the inside for turn 2. And we head up the hill towards Christmas Corner. It's Aidan Hammond who is ahead of Jacob Underhill. Going defensive is Aidan Hammond very smartly, as that is a move at the front as well. Margeris Kavekis back ahead of Ben Hunt.
Yeah, great little kind of switch back there before they headed into the corner. It's now Kavekis leading this race.
So Kvekic ahead of Ben Hunt, a little bit wide goes the 25, I believe, of James Vout, who was running in P7 until not long ago. Our cadet pre-A finals are being feisty as expected, but Aiden Hammond has been fighting his way through the field. Can he close in to the leading two? He has Carter Inslip Clarkson directly behind him. Our fastest lap of the race so far, Wyatt McAllister, a 57.2.
Side by side then, the number 16 car with the attack. Oh dear, that is very wide indeed through the final corner there. Luckily, didn't make contact with the wall. Margeris Kvekic setting the new fastest lap of this race at 57.1, able to break away a little bit from the pack of karts behind. Jacob Kent not having an ideal race here, gets a contact warning, as do a couple of other drivers on that previous lap. Of course, very difficult for these drivers to see that without the digiflag at this point in time. Is it back actually? We'll have to check if it's back. No, it's not. It's not back for this race, is it?
Well, still Kvekic leading from Hunt. The gap was half a second at the start of the lap. It has dropped down to just a couple of tenths in Aiden Hammond. And his gaggle of karts, his compatriots have been closing in. Penalty for Aiden Hammond.
What a shame. So he's going to have to work a little bit harder if he wants to try and fight for a... Of course, he doesn't need to try and fight for a spot into the next division of the finals.
Z final.
Yeah, the Z final. But the juniors, maybe they'll put him up to the juniors. But a penalty not ideal regardless. James Vout, new fastest lap of this race. The first man into the mid, or to the low to mid one, into the 56s. Sorry, I'll try that again. 56.5 competitive time there, especially considering he's in the midst of battle. He's in the midst of battle.
Oh, Aiden Hammond, what a move. Super late on the brakes, up the inside of Ben Hunt. There was rubbing, but I think that was Fairs two abreast through Inkermans down the hill towards Ashby. Still Kvekic leads, but Aiden Hammond is up into second position. This has been a really good drive from Hammond, who now just has to hunt down Kvekic, who's about half a second up the road.
Great move from Carter Inskip Clarkson, getting ahead of James Vout. James Vout now very much focused on the cart behind, looking over his shoulder as we headed through Christmas Boxing Day, and now towards the end of Sector 2.
Kvekic from Hunt, from Hammond, then comes Vout and Inslip Clarkson. Remember, James Vout, very, very fast. We think back to the first round of the championship. James Vout had not the best of opening races, finished 18th in the pre-A final, finished 5th in the A final, gained 13 positions. Very quick, and here is Inslip Clarkson trying to go around the outside of Vout. That's going to put him under pressure from Batuev, and this is the issue. You try to overtake someone in front of you, it opens the door for yourself being overtaken as Kvekic goes defensive. Aiden Hammond looks for the switchback out of Ashby corner, has to tuck in behind. Kvekic is looking over his left shoulder, looking over his right shoulder, trying to see where Aiden Hammond is.
Practically like an owl trying to turn its neck through its entire rotation there to see what was going on behind. But yeah, as you say, these pack battles that we've been getting so used to this weekend do come with their risks, but they are great fun to watch. I reckon we should rename Christmas and Boxing Day like the festivities or something.
Yes.
So we know what's happening here. As up the number 28 of Luca Batuev goes very wide there, actually. That was close. Was that James Vout? That was James Vout. It was James Vout going wide, battling with Luca Batuev. Not sure what happened there, but he was very lucky. Only really skimmed the wall, able to carry on.
This is why you don't go side by side into the final corners. Aiden Hammond's trying to go the long way around. Kvekic has the inside into the festivities. Outside now for Inkermans, and Aiden Hammond is going to be coming under pressure from Ben Hunt. They're almost 3 wide into Ashby's. Who's going to come out on top? Aiden Hammond is the widest of all three, but it is still Kvekic leading from Aiden Hammond, and Carter Inslip Clarkson is up into third ahead of Ben Hunt. And here comes Aiden Hammond now going up the inside into Ozias. He's finally done it. He's finally passed Kvekic, and they're side by side on the straight. Inslip Clarkson is on the outside, or pardon me, on the inside of the duo, and spun around is Kvekic. He's pointing his finger, and he's facing the wrong way. Oh, dearie me, Kvekic.
You have to feel for him there. Has done such an impressive job of leading this race for so long. We're going to get a replay of that very unfortunate incident for Kvekic here. Just heading into the first part.
Oh,
the boot now. Him and James Vout.
Was Vout far enough up the inside? Should Kvekic have seen him, or leave it for the stewards?
Yeah, we'll leave that one for the stewards. What a shame, though, because I was about to say, Kvekic doesn't have to worry too much. Hammond, of course, has that penalty to serve.
Yep.
So all of this now means Carter Inskip Clarkson leading this race.
Yes, very true. And depending on what the penalty was for Aiden Hammond, if it was a bump in pass, it might mean that Ben Hunt is on for a second place. None of the drivers know that Aiden Hammond has a penalty. Hammond now going defensive. In skip Clarkson.
Penalty for James Vout as well.
So the stewards have deemed that James Vout was at fault for the incident with Margiris Kovekis.
And let's not forget, Vout got quite considerably slowed down by that incident as well.
Is that Inskip Clarkson ahead of Aiden Hammond? It is indeed. So a change for the lead once again in our cadet super lightweight pre-A final. Aiden Hammond, though, surely he's going to fight back.
He will. This bodes well for Ben Hunt as it stands. Of course, none of these drivers are aware of any of this. James Vout, as we said, a drop impact and a penalty to boot as well. What a shame. His race coming to a bit of a premature end. Likewise as well, Zyla Ono. Did we catch what happened with him? He seems to have dropped back based on how he was doing earlier on in this race. Only 2 minutes to go now.
Well, remember, Zion started at the very back. He qualified through the pre-B final.
I'm getting races mixed up now. There's been so many.
There's been so much battling out on circuit, and Ben Hunt has closed in onto our leaning to Aiden Hammond, darts over to the inside and up the inside of Inskip Clarkson. He goes into the boot. Inskip Clarkson, though, is going to look for the switchback, and we'll have to tuck in right behind Aiden Hammond as we start a new lap. 2.5 minutes to go, which is about 3 laps remaining. I saw a warning, a track limits penalty or something, a warning being given to one of the drivers. Who the marshal was pointing to, I don't know. Hammond's going to have to go defensive, and Inskip Clarkson is looking to the outside on the run-up to Christmas. James Malcolm trying to get involved, goes round the outside, gives himself the inside for Boxing Day, has contact with Ben Hunt, who now drops down a couple of positions, but it is James Malcolm up into P3, and let's not forget that's P2 potentially, depending on the penalty that Aiden Hammond has coming his way, as the number 10 of Rory Hamilton goes up the inside of Ben Hunt as well. So Ben Hunt goes from challenging from second all the way down into P5.
Fastest man on track at the moment is Oliver Yangzhou with a 56.5 in that mid-pack battle, only about 1.5 seconds behind the race leader. In fact, you have to drop down to P10 to find out on who's outside of 2 seconds of this leader. We have a big pack now forming up behind the battling Aiden Hammond and Carter Inskip Clarkson.
Nose to tail, and it seems like whenever these two stop battling for a second, they pull a few kart lengths to the field behind. Then they start battling, everyone catches up once again as here goes Rory Hamilton. Oh no!
Big spin!
Too late on the brakes, locks up the rear, and it forces Ben Hunt to go wide. It also forces Luka Batuev to go corner hopping on the exit of Christmas Corner. Let's have a look at that one again.
So here he is, he's looking up the inside, very late on the brakes, ends up colliding, clipping the back end of that kart in front, and that is just going to send the kart flying. Someone else, as you mentioned, does have a little bit of kart cross, is able to rejoin in a quicker manner than Rory Hamilton was able to, and that is a very unfortunate incident, just too late on the brakes really, as we're looking now at Aiden Hammond and Carter Inskip Clarkson heading around that last corner, also looking at the battle going on between, is that Oliver Yangzhou?
Possibly.
Yes, it is, up into P5, he's had a great lap, he's really benefited from the issues that Rory Hamilton had.
Here we go, final lap of the race. Inskip Clarkson trying to fight, looking for the outside. Look at James Malcolm behind the pair of them. He wants a piece of the action as we make our way through Boxing Day and increments down towards Ashby Corner. Still a Hammond leading. Inskip Clarkson looks to the outside of Malcolm, just waiting for the pieces to fall his way. Now into Parker's, the double left-hander. Parker leading into Ozias. This is a prime overtaking opportunity. But Inskip Clarkson will sit behind. Does he know that Aiden Hammond has a penalty? Hammond is going to go defensive on the run towards the boot. Can James Malcolm send one up the inside of Inskip Clarkson? Not here, he can't, and Aiden Hammond just has one corner to navigate. On the road, he'll take the win, but he does have a penalty. So Aiden Hammond provisionally takes the win, but it is Inskip Clarkson who will be taking the championship points, with James Malcolm in third ahead of Max Lovell and Oliver Yangzhou.
So penalties changing the order at the end there. It was still very important for Carter Inskip Clarkson to push as hard as he could, because he could not afford to lose those positions to James Malcolm, Max Lovell in all of that battling. But we had a very close mid-pack battle actually going on there as well, for P6 down to kind of like P8, P9 maybe. But yes, a very exciting end to the race there. Unfortunate for some, that cadet pre-A final, but we move on in just a few moments time now to the junior pre-A final, and then our final straight after that.